Think about having the same thoughts as the kings, CEOs, and leaders who made history more than 500 years ago. People still study the book that one man wrote about power because it was so honest and offensive. Niccolò Machiavelli was that person, and his book, The Prince, shows how power really works. In contrast to idealists, Machiavelli saw people for what they really are, selfish and driven. He talked about why some people succeed and others fail and how leaders stay in charge. It's not about being cruel in his book, it's about knowing how the world works. Not using these ideas, but understanding them is important if you want to be successful and safe. It is better to be aware and ready for life than to be caught off guard. Knowing how power works can help you get through it. The ideas that Machiavelli gave us are not about being dishonest, but about being smart and keeping ahead. People are still the same, so his ideas are still useful. 500 years ago, the prince questioned what people thought was normal. It wasn't about morals, it was about tactics. Machiavelli looked at how powerful people got and stayed in power. Bosses, politicians, and business leaders used his book as a guide. We can still use what we learn because competition is a part of everything from business to politics. Power-educated people can make smarter choices. Being aware does not mean using trickery to learn these rules. Knowing the rules of power helps you stay in charge, just like an athlete studies their opponent. Knowing how influencing works can help you in your daily life. Power exists everywhere, from the workplace to personal relationships. Smart people know how to use it well. Principle 1. Master the art of adaptability. Long-term winners aren't those who stick to old tactics no matter what. They're those who change their minds when they need to. Being flexible is not only a strength, it's a skill you need to stay alive. People who didn't change with the times were always surpassed by those who did. Take a look at what happened to companies that used to be the best in their fields, but didn't want to change. It didn't matter to Blockbuster that digital streaming was becoming more popular. Companies like Netflix changed to adapt to new customer habits. It's easy to see what the lesson is. Being lazy kills you. Having a great plan isn't enough. You also need to be able to see when that plan is no longer working. People who can read the currents of change before they are swept away are the most effective. A smart planner knows that the things that make for success are never the same. Being able to adapt, rethink, and deal with new problems is what makes a leader, a business, or a person grow. Stubborn people break easily, but flexible people do well. There is no need to give up on ideals. Instead, strategies need to be changed to fit the situation. Think of a fighter fighting on ground that is shifting. Warriors who change their feet stay standing, while warriors who don't move are easily knocked down. Those who can adapt to new situations and welcome change will have an edge over those who fight it. It's important to be able to change in a world that is always changing. Was there ever a problem where being able to change quickly made all the difference? Adapt and conquer is the answer if you think being flexible is the key to success. Tell us what you think in the comments. Principle 2. Know the difference between fear and love. Machiavelli famously said that if you can't be liked and feared at the same time, it's better to be feared. This might seem cold, but it shows a basic truth about leadership and impact. People will follow a leader as long as it's easy for them, even if it means skipping steps, missing deadlines, or putting other things ahead of what they need to do. When a leader, on the other hand, demands respect and makes clear what is expected and what will happen if they don't, people stay disciplined. Think about Thomas Edison. He was known for having high standards and working hard all the time. He often pushed his team to the edge. Some were afraid of letting him down, but that fear led to ideas that changed the way we use technology today. One more example is military leadership. Commanders don't care if their troops love them. They only care that they are admired enough that their orders are carried out correctly. Fear, on the other hand, doesn't mean cruel rule. It means having high standards that encourage commitment and excellence. It's important for leaders to be respected enough that people take them seriously, but not so afraid that people don't like them. It's true in business and in friendships. Someone who is too nice might get ripped off, but someone who sets limits gets respect. Leadership isn't about being popular. It's about making sure that the people you're in charge of stay focused, committed, and successful in the end. Not because they are feared, but because they command unwavering loyalty. A recognized leader leaves a lasting mark. Should leaders be feared or loved? It's better to be respected than liked, so type respect over approval if you agree. Write what you think in the space below. Principle 3. The Fox and the Lion. Machiavelli said that you need to be a fox to spot traps and a lion to scare wolves. This is still one of the best ways to think about success. The lion represents strength, confidence, and power, while the fox represents cleverness, flexibility, and strategy. Both are necessary for real success. If you're not strong, you can still be smarter than your opponents, but you won't be able to make quick decisions. Also, someone who is only strong and can't think strategically will be beaten in the end. As an example, think about Henry Ford. He knew that mass production would change the car business because it was in his nature to be a fox. Still, he didn't stop there. He used the lion's strength to push his ideas through, making brave moves that changed how cars were made and sold. On the basketball court, Michael Jordan was both a lion and a fox. On the court, he was a lion because of his power and skill, but off the court, he was a fox because he planned his brand and investment. These two things are necessary in today's world. When negotiating business deals, for example, being smart, knowing enough to understand a lot is important, but having the courage to get past problems is just as important. Success rarely comes from being strong or smart all the time. You need to know when to be smart and when to be strong. When you master both, you not only get short-term wins, but also long-term power and impact in whatever you do. Which is more important to you, being smart like a fox or strong like a lion? Post a fox if you like planning things out, or a lion if you like strength and bravery. Principle 4. The Power of Perception. Machiavelli knew a simple but important truth. How people see you affects how they treat you. A lot of people will never really know who you are underneath, so the picture you show them becomes real to them. This idea shows up in every part of life, from being a boss to being successful in your own life. Take the case of when J.K. Rowling was writing the Harry Potter books. She was first written off as an unknown single mom who was having a hard time making ends meet. But after she changed the way people thought of her as a groundbreaking author, chances started to come her way. Even more clearly seen in business, a startup founder who presents their company with confidence, even before it becomes a big hit, is more likely to get investors than someone who seems unsure, no matter how good their idea is. Also, when talking to people in person, someone who walks with confidence, talks with power, and stays calm naturally commands respect. In terms of safety, thieves will often avoid going after people who seem sure of themselves and aware of their surroundings. The right way to handle perception can open doors that skill alone can't. It's important to make sure that the picture you present fits with your goals. It's not about being fake. It's about realizing that in a world where people judge quickly, how you act can affect the chances you get and the respect you get. Make a good first impact. What do you do to control how other people see you? You can type "control the narrative" if you think how people see you is important for success. Share what you think in the comments. Principle 5. Using strategy versus force. It is not dishonest for Machiavelli to say that you should never use force to win a battle that can be won through planning. Many people think that being strong is the only way to be powerful, but history shows that careful, well-planned moves often work much better than brute force. Direct fighting is a waste of time and energy when a smarter strategy can get the same results with less trouble. In war, Sun Tzu stressed similar ideas, saying that the best victory is one that doesn't happen in fight. The rise of Netflix is a historical example. Instead of going up against Blockbuster and Real Rentals, they started a mail-order service that slowly changed the way people used to rent movies. Netflix had already switched to streaming by the time Blockbuster realized what was going on. This completely changed the entertainment business. One more example is how social groups spread, not by force, but by carefully placed stories that change how people think about things. This rule applies even in personal situations. Instead of arguing violently, it's often better to present well-researched points and use strategic positioning to convince others. People who quietly manage the flow of information have the most power in negotiations. Leaders, business owners, and people with a lot of power do well when they know that direct confrontation isn't always the best way to get things done. To win without too much trouble, one should be subtle, prepare, and pick their fights wisely. In the long run, strategy is better than force, and people who learn how to use it are ahead of those who fight pointlessly. Struggle or strategy? Which will win in the end? Right strategy wins if you think smart moves are better than direct arguments. Let us find out what most people think. Principle 6. How important timing is. One of the most important things Machiavelli said about success is that the wise move right away while the foolish delay. People who see chances too late don't get rewarded in life. People who act first do. Many people figure things out in the end, but by the time they do anything, someone else has already benefited. When a thought is shared determines whether it grows or dies. Take a look at how Amazon began as a simple online bookstore. E-commerce wasn't a new idea at the time, but Jeff Bezos moved quickly and added more product categories before other people saw how useful online shopping could be. Amazon controlled an industry that others were hesitant to enter because he moved quickly. Athletes like Serena Williams and Lionel Messi aren't just good at what they do. What makes them stand out is their ability to predict plays and respond before their opponents do. This rule still applies in everyday life. Someone who invests early in a growing industry makes a lot more money than someone who waits until it's popular. People who step up before they are asked get leadership roles faster than people who wait to be told what to do. Putting off doing something kills more dreams than failing ever could. It is clear what the lesson is. Knowing about a chance is not enough. Acting on it at the right time is what makes winners. Waiting for the best time to act often means watching from the sidelines while those who took risks at the right time move forward. To be successful, you need to know not only what to do, but also when to do it. Now or later, have you ever waited too long and missed a chance? You should type "timing is everything" if you think that being successful means taking the moment. Please share your stories below. Principle 7. Managing your circle. It was smart of Machiavelli to say that the smartness of a leader can be judged by the people they surround themselves with. This idea isn't just true for leaders, it's true in all parts of life. The people you spend time with affect how you think, the chances you get, and your ultimate success. People who are around negativity, uncertainty, or incompetence will always be held back, but people who choose to be with people who are driven, smart, and clever will get ahead. Think about Steve Jobs and how he was able to hire great people like Steve Wozniak and Johnny Ive, who helped Apple become a giant in its field. Jobs wasn't successful by himself. He knew that being around smart people would help him make a bigger difference. Look at your own ties on a smaller level. If you hang out with people who are lazy, complain, or make excuses all the time, their way of thinking will affect yours. If your network is made up of driven, forward-thinking people, on the other hand, you will automatically pick up their habits and drive. Long-term success in business depends on partnerships too. Before putting money into a company, investors carefully look at its team, because they know that a great idea is useless if it can't be carried out well. Making the right choice about the circle is one of the most important things that anyone can do. People who know how powerful relationships can be actively look for places that push them forward, challenge them, and open doors for them. People rarely achieve success on their own. Your network can be your biggest strength or your biggest weakness. The people you know affect how successful you are. Within your group, who gives you the most inspiration? You can type "strong circle" if you have a good network, or tag someone who makes you want to be better. Principle 8. How to make good decisions. It's not just rebellion that Machiavelli meant when he said to reject the status quo. It's also knowing when change is needed and having the guts to make it happen. A lot of people pause before making big choices because they don't know what will happen, although staying still is frequently riskier than taking a measured risk. The world changes all the time, and people who stick to old ways of doing things get left behind. Thomas Edison, Elon Musk, and all the other great innovators have one thing in common: they can all make brave choices that go against the grain. Visit Netflix to see how it changed entertainment. Instead of sticking with the old rental model, they took a chance on streaming, which seemed like a bad idea at the time, but changed the industry in the long run. It's easy to see what this means. Being safe often means falling behind. The people who do well know that taking calculated risks is important to move forward. Routines can stop you from reaching your goals even when you're trying to grow as a person. Think of someone who wants to start a business but is afraid to do so because they don't want to fail. While this is going on, someone else takes the risk, makes mistakes, and finally succeeds. People who reach greatness are able to make decisions and take action even when they don't know what to do. If you play it safe, you'll never reach your full ability. It's not a matter of should you change, but will you change, or let it happen to you. You can make that decision. What choice will you make that will affect your future? Futures are shaped by brave choices. Do you remember a time when you took a chance that changed your life? Comment decisive mindset if you think that acting is better than hesitating.